Senator John McCain. Let me ask you a question. It's not a funny question, but I don't do those anymore.
Ever since Michael Bolton.
That's right. I'm scared now. I'm running scared. Today it's in the newspaper, and it's a scary idea that North Korea, it's been revealed, is developing nuclear weapons. They're unabashed about it. And it has, I know, me thinking, I think a lot of people thinking, what's our role now if, for example, one of our main reasons for wanting to go into Iraq is this is a dangerous man who's developing dangerous weapons. That may be end up being the case with many countries in the world. And where, you know, where do we draw the line? I mean, how can we be a nation that says anytime a developing country or a country that we don't particularly like develops nuclear weapons, we've got to take them on?
Well, let me give you a slightly different take, and that is that in 1992, there was a lot of us who said, look, you're making a deal with the Koreans that they're not going to abide by, and they're going to continue to build these weapons. They were a threat in 1992, 1993, 1994, but if we had addressed the issue then, that was before they had nuclear weapons.
Right.
Now they've got nuclear weapons and a missile that could take one to Tokyo. I mean, this is a very serious situation. You could draw a comparison with that with Saddam Hussein. A lot of people say, wait, don't, you know, let him do all these things. Well, what would happen if Saddam Hussein developed the nuclear weapon and had the missile to do it? Then you have a much greater challenge. So I think the lesson of trying to bribe Korea, which is basically what we try to do with the North Koreans, doesn't work. And I want to emphasize one other thing here that we seem to get lost, and maybe those of us who are more concerned don't get across as well as we should. If tomorrow Saddam Hussein said, okay, I'll get rid of all this stuff, you can bring your inspectors in, there'll be legitimate inspections, bring up people in, then he could stay, as wacky as he is, he could keep watching his torture movies and taking Viagra for as long as he wanted to. We wouldn't take him down. So it's kind of up to him in a way.
Right. And he keeps saying, okay, I'll do it, and then a week later there's a caveat, or no, I've changed my mind.
He kicked all the inspectors out in 1998. We passed a resolution calling for a regime change then.
Right.
So I hope that tomorrow he undergoes some kind of conversion and says, okay, I'll get rid of this stuff.
Let everybody in,
but
let
for
them look
11
everywhere.
years, for 11 years, he has not. And that's the challenge that we face. And going back to Korea, all these years, the North Koreans, taking billions from us, oil and food and all kinds of other stuff, have been developing these weapons. And now we've got a real problem. Not just us, the Japanese have got a problem with it, too.
Let me bring up another topic, which is in the newspaper today, which is we finally have this resolution. We're going to move forward. The president has a free hand to do what he needs to do in Iraq. And now we find out that the French really don't want to cooperate with this. Do you hate the French? I mean, they wear those striped shirts, and they're on the bicycle, and there's always a baguette in their basket. It's annoying. They're very rude. No, I'm just... What do we do?
The Lord said the poor will always be with us. The French will always be with us, too.
Yeah.
You know, they're very difficult for me to love and enjoy. I mean, the culture, the beauty, the most beautiful city in many respects in the world, Paris and all that, and then they try and get a meal there. You know, it's you know, so
you're fun to have on.
I hope that the French will come around. The Germans haven't treated this very well either. Their guy running for re-election made some very unusual statements, and that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because we had 500,000 young American soldiers there for 40 years, and we were not only protecting ourselves, but we were protecting them. But the president and I think one of the finest men that America's ever produced, Colin Powell, are working hard with the UN, working with the French, working with our allies, and I think we'll...
Do we need everybody for this? No, you don't think so? So it could be possible that we could say, like, okay, French...
Yeah, the British are with us, as you know, and there'll be others. And the other point is that the people in Saddam Hussein's neighborhood don't like him any better than we do. He's used gas on his enemies and his own people, and they'd like to see him out of the neighborhood, too.
So there's an incentive for them,
They're afraid we would go in and then leave him in power and depart, as we did in 1991. We all now know it was a mistake to leave Saddam Hussein in power after the Persian Gulf War. But I think it'll be worked out. I think the conflict will be relatively easy. I'm not saying any time you send young men and women into harm's way that's easy, but it's hard for me to imagine a soldier that's willing to die for Saddam Hussein, despite all the good words he had for you on this program, which were really impressive.
Well, I'm sure he's watching right now. He's a big fan of our show, and he has a really large satellite dish. I don't know if you're...
In between torture films, he usually tries to get in Conan O'Brien.
Some say it's a smooth transition. He might even be watching Saturday Night Live. Let's talk about Saturday Night Live for 1 second. Any chance, when Giuliani was on that show?
Yes.
One of the last prominent politicians to do that show, he appeared in drag. Any chance he'll be appearing in drag this Saturday?
No.
Okay.
No, they couldn't find a dress that would fit me that way.
Are your kids excited about this?
It's the first time I've gotten my kids' attention and appreciation since I can remember.
Yeah, okay.
It's unbelievable how they...
After everything you've done, you have to go and be on Saturday Night Live to get that.
That's right. And it is a great thrill, and they're talented young people, as you know, and it's great fun. And you know, when you think about it, this program's been on for 28 years with the same guy running it.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Some say he's like a madman that must be taken out of power, like Saddam Hussein. Oh, wait a minute. He's the executive producer of this show. That's a terrible mistake on my part. Love you, Lorne. I'll mention the book quickly, Worth the Fighting For. It's a memoir, and this is you actually talking about some of the people that really inspired you, and some of the choices surprised me. Marlon Brando, you know. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt, I would have expected, but Ted Williams, Marlon Brando, there's some interesting figures in there.
Yeah, in the case of Marlon Brando, he played in a great movie that was very unappreciated called Viva Zapata, about the great Mexican revolutionary. And he was a great revolutionary, and he played him very well. It was a movie made by Kazan, and John Steinbeck wrote the screenplay, and it's a wonderful film, and that inspired me. And then I read about Zapata, and he's a guy that stuck to his principles, did what he believed in. Ted Williams.
It's an interesting book because I expected all of the figures in it to be political figures, and you read through, and it's just people like any of us who are, you know, come from different, Ernest Hemingway, or, you know, who inspired you in one way or another, so.
Yeah, the title of the book is from Ernest Hemingway's famous novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls. At the end of it, the hero, Robert Jordan, the American who's fighting in the Spanish Civil War, says, "The world is a fine place and worth the fighting for, and I'll hate to leave it," just as he's about to die. It's a wonderful book. I'm sure you had to read it in high school.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah. It's a great book. I thought you meant this book. I read this in high school, and I'm
all
like,
high schoolers.
But it just came out. I'm not that young.
Yeah.
Worth the Fighting For is available now, and this weekend, as we've said, Senator McCain hosting Saturday Night Live with musical guest The White Stripes. That'll be a fantastic show, I'm sure. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Come back. Love to have you. Senator John McCain, everyone. Katie Holmes coming up. We'll be right back.